Hi athletes, it's me again, just here talking to you today about how you track your progress. Now firstly, the fact that you're on our Everyday Athlete programme means that you're already on the right track. The second thing is to say that all of you will have slightly different goals, and that's fine. And I'll just run you through some key ways I like to be able to work with clients to track progress that helps you understand that what you're doing is have a really positive impact on your health and fitness. Firstly, I want to talk about weight and the misconception that because you're now training a lot, you should be effectively losing weight on the scales. And that's not true for everyone. It partly depends on what your starting weight is, what your body composition in terms of muscle mass and fat is at the start. But for most of you, with the type of training that we're doing, I would expect that you're putting on some muscle mass. And if you're looking after your diet and getting your protein in, you're probably losing a bit of body fat at the same time. So some of you may see that actually your weight on the scales doesn't change dramatically because whilst you're putting on some lean muscle mass, you're also losing some body fat, and they will counteract each other. The best way, in my opinion, to track progress is to take some progress photos, so front, back, side on, in your sort of sports gear or sports bra or whatever, something that shows your muscle tone, and actually just refer back to that every couple of weeks. So because you see small changes every day, you might not notice the impact of those, but over the course of a month or 2 months, when you compare photos from day 1 to day 60, for example, the biggest thing I notice with clients quite often is posture. So particularly people who have not done a huge amount of functional training before, backs become stronger, posture becomes better, just the way you stand in those photos becomes more athletic, and you should also start to see a reduction in body fat and increase in muscle mass. Also, how do you feel? Do you feel fit and strong? Do your clothes fit better? Do people give you compliments? Do you generally just feel more injury free and more capable of getting around everyday life and lifting things and moving and actually feeling like a more functional athlete? Also, are you making performance gains? Are you lifting heavier weights? Are you learning new skills? Is your running getting faster? Is your squat getting heavier? Do you find yourself scaling less of the workouts or performing movements that you couldn't do 1 or 2 months ago? All of those are things that I think you should be proud of and give yourself a pat on the back and give yourself credit for. Doesn't necessarily all have to be aesthetic goals or about body weight. The other things that you can track, some data or practical things, you could track measurements. So if any of you are interested in tracking measurements, particularly for people who are looking to lose a fair amount of body fat, tracking your essentially your key measurements, so chest, waist, hips, arms, legs, just tracking using the tape measure, tracking those every month will show you actually more relevant the sort of fat loss rather than the scales, because it will actually show you if you're losing size and fat is effectively larger than muscle. The other things you could track are things like your VO2 max and your resting heart rate, a really good test of your sort of cardiovascular fitness. So a lot of the work we're doing is high intensity workouts in that sort of moderate time range, but it will be improving your body's ability to pump blood, your heart will be getting stronger, your lungs will be getting stronger. So your resting heart rate should be coming down and your VO2 max should be going up, meaning that your body can take in more oxygen, and also that your heart can pump more blood in each beat. So for those of you that have Apple Watches or smart watches or biometric trackers, certainly VO2 max and resting heart rate is a really good one. The other last couple of things I want to say is around sort of mood, and how do you feel now when you just in everyday life, but how do you feel when you train? What is your attitude now towards training? Has it become a habit? Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy the feeling of achieving something new, following a program, making progress, as opposed to working out or training almost as a punishment? So changing your mindset with how you view your exercise and your training is a really important part of this program. So starting to learn to love, to learn new movements, achieve new things, learn new skills. So just have a bit of a mental check-in next time you go to the gym. How does it make me feel? Am I doing it because I feel I have to, or actually do I genuinely enjoy this now? Because that's really important. and you start to focus more on what your body can do rather than how it looks. The last thing is just to think about, in terms of progress, have you formed good habits? So are you getting your daily steps in? Are you getting your drinking lots of water? Are you hitting your protein and calorie targets? How is your adherence to the program? Are you getting all of it done? Are you getting some of it done? Are you finding that you're starting sessions and not finishing them? Starting to set small performance goals, like I'm going to train 3 times next week and I'm going to do all of the session and I'm going to build in the time to do it. Those can be really, really motivating as well. So the key message there is effectively forget the weight on the scales, think about body measurements, progress photos, VO2 max, resting heart rate, hitting your targets around steps, water, protein and calorie intake, and also just have a check-in, a bit of reflection on how you feel about your training. So if you've got any questions, or you're concerned about your progress, or you're not sure if you're making progress, then have a chat with me and we'll talk it through. Otherwise, keep smashing your training. Have fun.